Pull up a chair, honey, and let me pour you some peach tea. It looks sweet in the glass, doesn't it? But if you let it sit too long, there's a sharp taste that stays with you. That's how my life in Oak Haven turned out. Sweet on the outside, hard to swallow once you really tasted it. 40 years ago, I wasn't known as some old woman people whispered about. I was Mabel Thorne, owner of the Gilded Thread, a little boutique my mama opened in 1945 on the corner of Main and Elm. Women didn't just come to me for dresses. They came when they needed to feel steady again. I knew their sizes, their habits, and the quiet worries they carried. Folks said my shop was part of the town's backbone. I believed them. I trusted that belonging meant protection. That's when Sloan Sterling walked in. He wore money the way some men wear confidence, smooth and practiced. His handshake was firm, his smile polished, and his eyes stayed fixed on things he wanted. He told me he had big plans for downtown. Glass buildings, offices, a future he said Oak Haven deserved. And right in the middle of it all sat my shop. I told him no. Calmly, kindly. I said my family's work wasn't for sale. His smile stayed right where it was. He leaned closer and said, "Everything breaks eventually, Mabel. Some just take longer." I thought that was a poor joke. I didn't yet understand it was a warning. The break came on a Tuesday night, at a packed town hall meeting. I was there to speak for small businesses. I never got the chance. Sloan reached the podium first. He didn't talk about construction. He talked about danger, about safety, about fear. A projector lit up the wall with photos I'd never seen before. A filthy basement, damaged wiring, papers claiming I'd bribed inspectors for years. Gasps filled the room. Chairs shifted away from me. Then a former employee stood up and told lies so smoothly even I almost questioned myself. By the time I stood, the mayor's gavel was already falling. Within 2 days, my insurance vanished. My loans were called in. Police tape sealed my doors. I stood outside my shop in the rain, holding my grandmother's sewing shears, watching strangers stare like I'd done something unforgivable. Sloan pulled up beside me, rolled down his window, and laughed softly. "You're outdated," he said. "And outdated things get buried." If you've ever watched someone powerful rewrite the truth, subscribe now. Most people don't see it coming until it's too late. That week, I lost my business, my home, and my name. He thought that was the end of me. He was wrong. The years after that meeting didn't move fast. They stretched. Long quiet. Heavy in places people don't notice until they've lived through it. Sloan Sterling moved through Oak Haven like he'd always owned it. New offices went up. Old brick buildings came down. The local paper started running glossy spreads with his face smiling beside words like vision and progress. When Sterling Heights opened, complete with gates and private security, folks said it meant the town had finally made it. The mayor attended every ribbon cutting. So did the bank president. Sloan's name started appearing on plaques, on donor walls, on scholarships that came with photo opportunities. To the town, he looked unstoppable. To the town, I barely existed. I took a job cleaning offices at the courthouse. Same building where they stamped my papers and stripped my shop away. I came in before sunrise, when the halls were empty and the air smelled like floor cleaner and old paper. I pushed my cart past doors marked with titles I once greeted as equals. Now they didn't see me at all. That kind of invisibility does something to you. At first it hurts. Later, it becomes useful. People talked when they thought no one was listening. Judges complained. Clerks gossiped. Developers argued about permits and favors. I emptied trash cans filled with drafts, memos, and half-shredded notes. I wiped desks where men had leaned in too close to tell secrets they assumed would never leave the room. I learned which voices dropped when Sloan's name came up and which ones rose with admiration. At the grocery store, people still whispered, "That's her. Such a shame." I heard she almost burned the whole block. I never corrected them. Correcting lies takes energy. Waiting costs less. I started carrying a small notebook. Floral cover. Nothing fancy. I kept it tucked in my apron pocket. Dates, names, places. Nothing dramatic. Just patterns. You don't need excitement when you're collecting facts. You need patience. Years passed that way. Then the phone rang one afternoon with news no one else cared about. My cousin Silas had died. He lived alone out past the county line on land folks called worthless. 300 acres of rock and stubborn soil that never gave anyone a reason to visit. When I inherited it, people laughed openly. One man at the diner said it was fitting I'd end up with nothing that could grow. Sloan heard about it, of course. He always did. He sent a young man to my apartment with a smile too eager to be sincere. $5,000, he said, just to make things easy. They wanted to dump construction debris out there. No one would notice. I told him no. He looked confused, like refusal wasn't something he'd practiced handling. Later I heard Sloan laughed and said I'd finally lost my mind. Stories like this happen quietly. Subscribe so you're not blind when power shifts. What he didn't know was that Silas had been curious in ways people overlooked. He asked questions. He read public notices most folks ignored. He noticed surveyors marking land they claimed wasn't important. Not long before he died, he'd mentioned rumors of a highway project meant to connect the new regional airport. Plans tucked away, waiting for the right moment. I visited the land for the first time that winter. Cold wind. Hard ground. Nothing pretty about it. But when you've spent a lifetime working with fabric, you learn to feel tension. You learn where pressure gathers. Where things are likely to give. I didn't tell anyone what I was thinking. I didn't celebrate. I didn't rush. Sloan was busy building higher, louder, bigger. I was busy paying attention. While he shook hands and cut ribbons, I kept cleaning floors. While he borrowed against every promise he made, I kept writing notes. While he believed the story of my failure, I was learning where the town still depended on things it didn't bother to see. They thought I was finished because I was quiet. They were wrong about that too. It started with a question I couldn't shake. Silas had never been the type to chase rumors, so when he wrote about survey stakes and quiet visits from state men in plain jackets, I paid attention. I took a day off from the courthouse and drove out to the land. 300 acres most people dismissed with a wave of the hand. Hard ground. Low brush. Nothing that announced its value. But value doesn't always announce itself. I hired a local well driller first, under the excuse of curiosity. He took measurements, scratched his chin, and said there was movement far deeper than he expected. Enough to make him uncomfortable answering too many questions. That was enough for me to ask better ones elsewhere. I learned something important then. Land can look empty and still hold what everyone depends on. That's when I went to Nashville. I didn't tell anyone in Oak Haven. Not a soul. I found a land use attorney whose walls were lined with old case files instead of awards. A woman who listened more than she spoke. I slid Silas's papers across her desk and told her I wanted to know what mattered most about owning the source instead of the surface. She explained it simply. If the water feeding the valley rose under my land, and if it could be proven as a private system, then permission mattered more than money. Ownership wasn't about size. It was about position. I hired her. Quietly. Paid in pieces. Every dollar I saved went there. I added a hydrologist next. No announcements. No letters. Just work. Back home, Sloan was louder than ever. Sterling Springs Resort rose from the ground like a challenge. Marble floors. Glass walls. A golf course planned down to the inch. He hosted tours for investors and boasted about bookings years in advance. Memberships sold fast. People wanted access. Status. They wanted to be close to a man who looked unstoppable. What they didn't see was how tight he was pulling the rope. He borrowed against everything. Properties. Promises. His own reputation. Loans stacked on loans, all tied to one assumption. The resort would open fully operational, on time, without interruption. There was no margin left. No backup plan. No patience for delay. I watched from a distance. Read filings. Compared dates. Listened when courthouse conversations grew tense. He was all in. And once a man commits that deeply, The ground under him matters more than he realizes. When the surveys came back, my lawyer called me herself. She didn't celebrate. She didn't need to. The numbers spoke clearly enough. The main supply feeding the entire valley ran through my land. Not beside it. Not near it. Through it. We waited. Waiting is not doing nothing. Waiting is holding steady while others rush. Every month Sloan poured more concrete. Signed more agreements. Promised more people more certainty. Every month made the position stronger. The paperwork was prepared long before it was filed. Certified surveys. State confirmations. Old statutes most developers ignored because they assumed progress erased them. It didn't. The day Sloan announced the final phase of construction, I signed the last page. A notice of water diversion and land use restraint. Filed clean. Filed legal. Filed without drama. I went home and sat in my chair with a cup of tea. No shaking hands. No racing heart. Just a calm that comes when all the pieces finally settle where they belong. He still didn't know. He was still smiling for cameras, talking about legacy, unaware that his entire future rested on something he never bothered to ask about. The trap wasn't loud. It didn't rush him. It simply waited. And by then, there was nowhere left for him to step. The invitation arrived thick and glossy, like it expected to be framed. The grand opening of Sterling Springs Resort. Sloan's name sat at the top in raised lettering, confident as ever. I didn't RSVP. I didn't need to. I already knew where I would be that day. That morning, I stood in front of my mirror longer than usual. I wasn't nervous. I was deliberate. From the back of my closet, I pulled out the last dress I'd sewn with my own hands at the gilded thread. Navy silk. Clean lines. It still fit because I'd never let myself disappear, no matter how small my world became. I pinned my mother's brooch at the collar and stood a little straighter. Posture matters when you're about to be seen again. The resort sat high on polished stone and promises. Cars lined the drive. Valets hurried. Laughter spilled from the entrance like nothing had ever gone wrong in that valley. Crystal fixtures hung from beams. Cameras flashed. Sloan moved through it all like a man convinced the ground would always hold him. No one stopped me at the door. Security saw a composed older woman who belonged. They were right. Sloan stood on a stage in the center of the lobby. Microphone in hand, investors gathered close. He spoke about vision. About growth. About how he'd transformed a forgotten place into something worthy of attention. He raised his hand toward the massive fountain behind him. This, he said, smiling wide, is the moment we prove it all works. He pressed the button. The pumps growled. Pipes rattled. A thick cough echoed through the chamber. What came out of the fountain wasn't water anyone would brag about. Brown sludge spat once, twice, then stopped altogether. Silence fell fast. Engineers stared at their screens. Guests shifted. Sloan laughed once, sharp and quick, like he could cut the moment away. He gestured again. Nothing happened. That's when I stepped forward. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice. I let my heels mark each step on that marble floor until people turned. Sloan squinted, recognition arriving late and unwelcome. Mabel, he said. What are you doing here? I held up a red folder, bright enough to demand attention without effort. You built a beautiful place, I said evenly, but you forgot to ask who owned the source. Murmurs spread. I handed the folder to the man standing nearest Sloan, one of his main backers. Inside were certified surveys, state confirmations, and the order filed weeks earlier. The water feeding this property runs through my land, I continued. By law, any commercial use requires my approval, which you don't have. Sloan stepped down fast, face tight, voice lowered. Let's talk privately, he said. You want money? I'll fix this. I met his eyes. I don't want your money. His breath caught. I want the truth, I said, about what you did to me, and I want it in front of everyone. Around us, investors leaned closer. Phones appeared. Whispers turned sharp. Sloan looked trapped because he was. Without water, His resort was useless. Without a working opening, his loans collapsed. He knew it. They knew it. The man who had laughed at me in the rain stood exposed in his own spotlight, realizing power doesn't vanish, it transfers. Sloan didn't give up easily. He never had. For a week, lawyers worked overtime, searching for gaps that didn't exist. Judges reviewed the filings and reached the same conclusion every time. The land was mine. The rights were clear. The timing was final. Investors turned cold. Meetings grew tense. The bank stepped in. What Sloan called vision, others now called risk. His name vanished from press releases as quickly as it had once filled them. Then he came to see me. No suit. No driver. Just a tired man standing in my doorway, hands empty. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked scared. "What do you want?" he asked. "I'm losing everything." I set my knitting aside and faced him. "I want you to write it down," I said. "All of it. The forged reports. The paid testimony. The favors. Every name. I want it signed and delivered to the Gazette." His voice broke. "That could put me in prison." I nodded. "That's the weight of the truth." He had a choice. Sign, and I'd sell the water rights to the bank so the resort could survive under new hands. Refuse, and the place would rot where it stood. He signed. The paper ran the story 2 days later. The vindication of Mabel Thorne. The mayor resigned by noon. People came with apologies and food I didn't ask for. I accepted the words. I didn't need the rest. With the settlement, I bought back the land where my shop once stood. Then the buildings beside it. I didn't reopen a boutique. I opened a community center. Sewing tables. Business grants. A place where quiet people could start again without asking permission. Sloan is serving time now. I hear the plumbing there isn't reliable. Every morning, when I turn on my sink and hear the water run clean and steady, I remember something important. Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits. When the paper ran the truth, the town didn't change all at once. It shifted slowly, the way people do when they realize they were wrong but aren't sure how to admit it yet. Cars drove past my place a little slower. Faces lingered longer. Some folks crossed the street to avoid me. Others crossed it to speak. I didn't chase apologies. I didn't need them to mean more than they did. What mattered was what came next. With the money from the settlement and the sale of the water rights to the bank, I bought back the corner where the Gilded Thread once stood. Not just my old storefront, but the buildings beside it too. For the first time in decades, that block belonged to someone who wasn't trying to squeeze it dry. People assumed I'd reopen the shop. They asked what kind of dresses I'd sell now. I told them I wasn't selling dresses anymore. I was making room. The Thorne Community Center opened on a quiet Monday. No ribbon cutting. No speeches. Just open doors. Inside, the first room held long tables and old sewing machines I'd collected and repaired myself. Young people came in shy at first, unsure what they were allowed to touch. I showed them how to thread a needle, how to mend instead of toss away. It wasn't about fabric. It was about patience. Down the hall, we set aside space for small business grants. Nothing flashy. Just enough to help someone get started without begging a bank that never learned their name. I listened to ideas the way I always had. Carefully. Without rushing. The kind of listening that tells people they matter. We built a library too. Books that had been pushed aside. Books that made some folks uncomfortable. I liked that. Knowledge should make you shift in your seat a little. The same people who once whispered now asked how they could help. Some volunteered. Some stayed quiet. I let them choose their own pace. Healing doesn't come on a schedule. As for Sloan, he made the choice he always made, himself first. It just didn't work out the same way this time. He's serving his sentence now. I hear the pipes where he lives don't always cooperate. Faucets that hesitate. Water that comes and goes. Funny how certain things teach lessons better than words. Every morning, I wake up early. Old habits stick. I make tea and sit by the window. I watch people unlock doors, open shops, start again. I don't feel angry when I think about the past. Anger burns fast and leaves nothing useful behind. What stayed with me was something steadier. When the world tried to bury me, it thought quiet meant finished. It thought age meant weak. It thought patience meant surrender. That's a mistake people keep making. Because dirt isn't an ending. It's where growth starts. You don't rush it. You don't shout at it. You tend it. You wait. You trust the season to come around in its own time. That's what grandmothers know. If you think stories like this can't happen to you, don't subscribe. But tell us why in the comments. And if you do subscribe, do it because you understand this. Power doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it looks like waiting. And sometimes it looks like an old woman who remembers exactly who she is and never forgot.